सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। हमारे तो नीता ने के नीता बताओ। Last time we were discussing about Tatparya Nishchaya. What is the essence? What is the message? What is the purport of of a given book, of a given teaching? What is it that teacher wants to convey by this teaching? For that, I talked about a shloka, and we will see that. Upakrama upasamharo abhyaso apurvata phalam arthavado upapattischa shadaite lingam tatparya nishchaye. Upakrama upasamharo. Upakramaha, the beginning. Upasamharaha, what is in the end. There should be ekasutrata. Ekasutrata means single pointedness. What is told in the beginning is told at the end as well. That is called upakrama upasamharo. Abhyasaha, the same message should be repeated again and again. Apurvata, something new, something unheard, something unknown, something unrevealed so far should be revealed. Upakrama upasamharo abhyaso apurvata phalam. What is the result of this teaching? What is the benefit of this teaching? What do I get out of this teaching? That should be mentioned. Then arthavadaha upapattischa. Arthavadaha. Arthavada means that stuti, the praise, the glory of the teaching, glory of the result of this teaching should be told. And upapattischa lingam shat tatparya nishchaye. These are the 6 parameters. Upapatti means logically. What is said should not be absurd in terms of logic. And the teacher himself or herself should give sufficient logic to prove what he or she has conveyed. See, the words always lend itself to be misinterpreted. Not only misinterpreted, not interpreted. The land itself to be abused and misused also. Always. Unless one knows the tatparya of these words, unless one knows the essence of the teaching and words, and our teaching, for that matter, any teaching, is in the word form. Words are also forms through which you express your emotions, your vision, your knowledge. And unless you see the intended meaning of the teacher, you tend to misunderstand. You tend to look at it otherwise. That's what happens in every religion. There are so many sampradayas in the religion. There are so many interpretations in the religion because they don't see as it is. And they say, classic example is Bhagavad Gita. There are hundreds and hundreds of commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. And then the people are saying all of them are good, which is stupid statement. They are contradicting each other. How can that be good? And how can they be right? Only one of the interpretation, one of the commentary can be right or true to Lord Krishna's vision. And what is or what was his vision? To derive at, there are these 6 lingas. 6 things to be looked into by the Shastra. But when you study the Shastra, a commentator, when you study, these 6 parameters should be satisfied that this is the essence and this is what my contention is. Like even in Ishavasya Upanishad, we have seen, there is stuti, upakrama upasamhara, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. From there it begins. And the end is also same thing, Purnamadah Purnamidam, or Agneyanaya Supatharaya Asmin Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan. We will see the last mantra. The end and the beginning has only one message. Upakrama upasamharo abhyaso apurvata phalam. That repetition. What is told in the beginning, what is to be told in the end, should be repeated again and again through different examples, through different standpoints, through different words. And that's what the teacher has done in the beginning. First 3 mantras are talking of different adhikaris. But 4th mantra, aneja dekam manaso javiyah tadhavato anyan atyeti tattadejati tannejati, etc. We have studied. It's the same thing is repeatedly emphasized. Repetition is for emphasis. Repetition is to give clarity. Very beautifully told by Puja Swamiji. When our course began, then he took the first talk, and there itself he told. In fact, it struck me so well. I still remember his expression then, after almost 37 years, 38, 39 years. I remember what he had told that day, and what was his eyes and hands and etc. He said, just as usual, he welcomed all of you, and you come from different backgrounds, and you might have all apprehensions, how the things are to go. Some of you may know, and you may have some idea, but all are going to be different than what you think. And only one thing I'll tell you, what I'm going to talk today is the same thing I'm going to talk on the last day after 3 years. And in between, I'm going to talk the same thing daily. And then he said, but I promise you, each day would be more joyous and more peaceful and more beautiful than the previous one. Because what I'm going to talk to you, and that you is Purna, that you is Ananda, that you is Shantam Shivam Sundaram, and each day is going to be happier than the previous one. But then I'm going to talk the same thing. That is called abhyasa. And apurvata. Shruti should reveal something which you don't know, nor you can know. It is apurvata. Whereas if it is known, there is no point in writing the books. If it is known, there is no point in teaching again and again. It becomes pistipation. So, apurvata and the phalam. What is the result of this? Shruti tells this. In Ishavasya Upanishad, we saw abhyasaha. Apurvata also is there. What he says? That mantra, while telling Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmeva Bhut Vijanataha Atmanneva Anupashyati Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam Natato Vijugupsate Ekatvam Anupashyata Tata Komor Koshoka Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmanneva Anupashyati sees all the beings in himself or herself. Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam sees the self in all beings. This looks little self-contradictory, but we have seen in detail it is not contradictory. That you can understand this is apurvata. This is where Satya Mithya Viveka comes in. This is where you have to see that Jagat Karanam Ishwaram is not Parinami, but it is Vivarta Upadana Karanatvat. Sarva Bhutani, yes, Ishware Santi, Ishwaropi, Sarva Bhuteshu Santi. So, Purvata and Phalam, Natato Vijugupsate, no Shokaha, no Mohaha. This is all, and logic, etc. is given. So, the Tatparya of this Upanishad, I remind you, Upanishad means knowledge. Upanishad means Vidya. But the set of the words that reveal that Vidya are also called, in a secondary sense, Upanishad. The body of the word, the mantra Samuha. So this Ishavasya mantra Samuha, these 18 mantras are nothing but Upanishad. And if you see that, then you can interpret these 6 mantras, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in a proper context. And we have discussed in detail in earlier classes, you cannot interpret words of the Shastra. Direct meaning of the word is not applicable. You have to see it contextually as well. This background, we will get into now Shastra. We have discussed enough, 3 to 4 classes, because this set of mantras, not understanding the Tatparya and not understanding the context, Ishavasya Upanishad has lent itself for a lot of misinterpretation. People don't understand and they keep commenting. Like Gita, maximum commentaries are available on Ishavasya. And none of them, except Shankar Bhashya, none of them are satisfying these Shadlingas. None of them have Eka Sutrata in their whole commentary. And so we will see this in this background. One is up to 8 mantra, and further up as we'll go, we'll see the Tatparya of this body of knowledge. Tatparya of this set of 18 mantra is Upanishad Vidya, nothing else. So when the words are used, you have to understand contextually. Look at the 9th mantra. Now, Andham tamah pravishanti, Andham tamah pravishanti, ye vidyamupasate, ye vidyamupasate, tato bhuya ivate tamaha, tato bhuya ivate tamaha, yau vidyaya gumrataha, yau vidyaya gumrataha, andham tamah pravishanti, ye vidyamupasate. Andham tamah pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya ivate tamaha ye tato bhuya ivate tamaha yau vidyaya gumrataha yau vidyaya gumrataha. Look at the translation. Pravishanti, they enter into, they go to, they reach to. Where? Andhan tamaha, blinding darkness. They go to blinding darkness. Who? Ye. Ye means those. Who are these? Avidyam upasate. Literal meaning of upasana is worship, but then another meaning with rataha. Those who are committed to avidya. Those who are committed to avidya, they enter into blinding darkness. One. We'll see what is avidya, what is blinding darkness. Tato bhuyaha iva te tamaha. Tato bhuyaha. Further or more or greater tamaha. Greater darkness. Means more blinding darkness. Or you can say darker blinding darkness. Pravishanti, they enter. Who? Ye vidyayam rataha. Those who are committed to knowledge, to vidya. Okay. Now, here words avidya and vidya, like in the Vedas. In Veda also, in some of the Upanishad also, these two words literally doesn't mean knowledge and ignorance. Vidya, the direct meaning here, can be knowledge, and avidya can be ignorance. Now, if you take the literal meaning, if you take the direct meaning, then what happens? Vidyayam rataha, those who are committed to knowledge, they go to darker blinding darkness, greater blinding darkness, which contradicts the earlier section, which contradicts the entire Upanishads. Not only this, but all Upanishads. And avidyam upasate. There is a question of upasana about avidya. Upasate in the first line means rataha. Okay? Those who keep pursuing with commitment, or those who are committed to avidya. And they go to blinding darkness. Avidya in Shastra is a technical word. Shreyas is a technical word. Karma is a technical word. People interpret literally action. That's it. It is not the meaning in the Shastra. And earlier I had told you, Lord Krishna uses the word yoga in 17, 18 different contexts, meaning different things. And the word yoga, etymological meaning of yoga, Lord uses the word yoga just with the opposite to its etymological meaning. Yuja is a verb. Yuj means to join, to unite. Yoja, joining, uniting, and nirodha also. Withdrawal, mastering, controlling, etc. In the sixth chapter, the same chapter of a verse belonging to this chapter, all yogis keep quoting for marketing their yoga, Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Bhagavan has said, oh Arjuna, may you be yogi. In the sixth chapter itself, the word yoga is used in 4 different meanings. That analysis is a different thing as of now. I'll not get into that sixth chapter because all of you don't know the entire chapter and nor you have book of Bhagavad Gita. But this much I'll tell you. There is one verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yuja means to unite. Bhagavan says separation or removing the union or eliminating the joint is yoga. Yoga means uniting, joining. Bhagavan says removal of a joint or removal of union is yoga. Tam vidyat buddhi sanyogam viyogam yoga sangnitam. Viyogam yoga sangnitam. That viyoga is called yoga. Sangnitam is named as yoga. V is a prefix which any prefix always adds or changes the meaning of the word or a noun or even a verb. The V generally is in opposition or absence. Ragaha, viragaha. Gataha, vigataha. Like that. Yogaha, viyoga. Association nahi, disassociation, disunion. Removing the joint is called yoga. So, context is more important than the literal meaning. Yoga word used in a different context. Here, avidya means karma. And vidya means upasana. These meanings are not our interpretation, but with reference to Tatparya Nishchaya, and in different mantras of Upanishad and Vedas, they are used with the same meaning. Often avidya is used for karma and vidya is used for upasana. Andham tamah pravishanti ye avidyam upasate. Upasate means those who are committed to, those who keep pursuing. What avidya? Karma. Those who keep pursuing karma, those who are committed to karma, andham tamah pravishanti. They enter into blinding darkness. Ye ya'u vidyayam rataha. And the others who are committed to, who see this as the ultimate pursuit or ultimate goal of life, what? Upasana, vidya. Those who are committed to upasana, they enter into greater blinding darkness, more blinding darkness. And those who are committed to action, they enter into blinding darkness. Two things here. Mantra, I will discuss little afterwards. Please remember one thing. This is a kind of censure in the Shastra. Especially when you grow up in Indian culture, you hear censure about woman, censure about money, censure about house, censure about family, censure about your possessions, all kinds of things you hear. Sometimes some of the statements are quite derogatory also, one may feel, especially modern sensitive society, which are very conscious about the words, you feel it quite derogatory. And generally when you do censure, the point is that you should not do it. You should keep it away. Like you find censure for smoking. That means you should never smoke. Correct? There may be censure for meat eating. That means you should not eat. Sort of. Or its phalam. Negative phalam is talked about. What are the disadvantages of Jersey milk when it is talked about? And what are the advantages of Deshi cow or A2 milk talked about? Implying better avoid the Jersey milk and have Deshi cow's milk. That's all it implying. And it may be told specifically also. Truth thing, censure is generally to keep away, to avoid, not to pursue. In Shastra, it is not always true. Money is censored. You hear a lot of words about it. So, Vakyas and Subhashitanis and some slokas here and there. All worldly pleasures are censored. You hear so many things. Like famous verses of Bhajagovindam. Naristana Bharanavi Desham Nagat Dashtva Maga Mohavesham Etan Mamsa Masadi Vikaram Manas Vichinta Varam Varam Bhajagovindam Bhajagovindam Yallavase Nija Karmo Patam Vittam Tena Vinoda Chittam Bhajagovindam Bhajagovindam. Understand? And on the other hand, they censure everything and anything under the sky. On the other hand, the same Shastra says, whole creation is manifestation of Ishvara. Ishavasya idam sarvam. Nothing is independent or separate from Ishvara. Ishvara means the divinity. If it is a manifestation of divinity, that means it has to be, everything has to be divine. And if it is divine, why do you censure it? They even censure the body also. They talk about this body, the Sapta Dhatu and all kinds of verses are there, even in Vivek Chudamani. That it seems there is a clear contradiction. But it is not clear contradiction, it is apparent contradiction. When they censure or when they praise, there is only and only one reason. Even the food, sometimes it's censured. Bhikshau sadam bhujyatam vidivashat prapyena santushyata. You should eat the food like eating a medicine. Not allopathy medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. And not Ayurvedic medicine with honey, Ayurvedic medicine, the special decoctions for corona, what we call as kadas, all bitter and hot and all kinds of taste you get. After eating or drinking such thing, you justify. There is a self-justification, that now I think I can eat some ice cream and chocolate. The fellow eats it to avoid the fever and all that and not to catch cold. Then he eats the ice cream because it's too hot or too bitter, etc. And they say you should eat the food with this attitude. Nothing is bad and nothing is good. Censure is done or praise is done with only one object. Nothing is an end in itself. If I put it in one word, Arthakama is censured. Pursuit of Artha, pursuit of Kama is censured. But at the same time, it is divine, that is also told by Bhagavan himself says, Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Hey Arjuna, I am the Kama. Anything, if you look at it as the end, the pursuit of my life, then it is censure. Censure is done to tell you or to convey that everything is means. Nothing is an end in itself. Or they are the end which you don't seek. There is no connection between the end that you are seeking and the end that you are pursuing, what you seek at a psychological level, as a cognitive person, as an individual, what you want and what you are doing, there is no connection. It is like the fellow wants to go to South Pole and he travels to Canada. Just opposite. What I want is moksha. Every individual wants. Nothing to do with sex or age or religion, national, nothing. In a simple words, what is moksha? I want to be happy, full stop. That is the goal. The goal of every human being. And that is why all these religions, if I use this word, Swamiji's word, to reach some promotional religions. Those who talk that you will go to heaven if you follow us after death, that heaven also is nothing but happiness, some promise of happiness, some picture of happiness. That there will be eternal dinner with the Lord and there will be lots of dance and music. And the fellow is used to disco clubs and music. So he thinks that that may be better than that. That's it. They all promise because that is the goal. I want to be happy. No one works for unhappiness. What is happiness is subjective. In ignorance. For ignorant guys. But then each one pursue happiness is a fact. Is a universal fact. There is not a single day in my life when I sought to be unhappy. No. Swamiji, this fellow wanted to commit suicide. He thought that whatever happens to me, let it be, but I want to go out. That is why. Who commits suicide? Most unhappy. Not happy fellow. Happy fellow don't think of suicide. The unhappy guy also, he wants to get rid of this unhappiness. And there is a hope that I will make it better hereafter. Or at least I will get rid of this place and these people and this situation. That's a hope. And that hope is like a mirage water. You have to learn to deal with the situation. No situation can make you so unhappy that you have to commit suicide. The wrong thinking. An improper way of looking at the situation, incapacity to accept certain facts. That's how they go to this extreme. I want to be happy, and that is you. You don't need to look for happiness. Happiness is yourself. Tattvamasi, what you are seeking is you. That is moksha. And so pursuit of artha, kama and dharma, they are censured when they are looked upon as an end in itself. And they are glorified also because they are means. You find so many vakyas censoring this body. At the same time, you find vakyas glorifying the human birth. Mahata punya pannena kritoyam vapuhu deha. Vivek Chudamani says this body is a gift, biggest gift that you can have. Human birth is a big gift. Point is, when something is looked upon as an end in itself, that attitude is censured. Money itself is not bad. Money itself is harmless. In fact, there is nothing called money. It is all mutually we decide that this is a buying tender. What we call money is a buying tender. Like your credit card is a buying tender. That's all it is. The government orders and that government order is taken as mutual order of this nation. Full stop. And that particular piece of paper in particular color and design becomes a buying tender. But to see it as an end in itself, it is wrong barter. I barter my life for a few millions or billions of rupees, thinking that money is everything, it's the goal of life. Therefore, there is a sense. So also pleasures are, are censured. It is not the purpose. Never look upon it as the means, as the end. Even marriage is glorified in Hindu culture. It's a beautiful word we have in Gujarati, Prabhutama Pagala. Marriage means you are stepping into divinity, not stepping into the original sinner's den. What they call it, you know. The original sin is there and you get married, that means you are going into sinner's den. No, it is for stepping into divinity, provided it is looked upon as a means for moksha. Provided you deal with it with the keeping in mind the goal of life, then it is a divinity. Even birth of a child is divinity. Even death is respected in this culture. Yamaraja is called Dharmaraja. So, censure is from the standpoint of the goal of human being, namely moksha or total happiness. Any pursuit, any object, any person, any relationship is innocent by itself. It is nothing to do, provided you relate with the person properly, provided you relate with the objects properly, provided you relate with the situation properly. So, Ninda is not to shun it. Ninda is from two perspectives. One is that it is not the end of human life. And secondly, the way you look at it, the way you deal with it should be as a sadhanam for moksha, not the sadhya. So, the karma, it looks as though the karma is censured, but it's not true. When karma looked upon as the end in itself, then it is a sin. Karma by itself is innocent. Karma by itself is harmless. And if karma, when looked upon as a means for moksha, the same karma is glorified. Especially in Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th chapter, you find glorifying Lord Krishna glorifies karma. And at the same time, he censures the karma. He tells Arjuna that you must act, glorifies. And at the same time, he denounces or censures the karma because it is not the end in itself. Now, further, what is karma? And avidyayam rataha. What does it mean? Avidyam upasate. Karma doesn't mean action. Okay? All of us, for that matter, any sentient being is committed to karma, choicelessly. Any living creature is pursuing karma choicelessly. And when you say, if you keep pursuing karma, you go to blinding darkness, then that means you're doomed. You have no way out. That's not a point. In Bhagavad Gita, twice Bhagavan mentions that you act. You cannot remain without action, even for a moment. Nahi kaschit kshanam api jatu tishthatya karma krita karyate hyavashak karma sarvah prakriti jai gunai. Third chapter. In the 18th chapter, which is a lot of concluding remarks are there, there itself Bhagavan says, Nahi deha brutam shakyam tyaktum karmani asheshatah. Deha bruta means prana. As long as there is a prana in this body, as long as you are alive, you cannot give up karma. You cannot say, I'm not doing anything. Not doing anything itself is doing. I am not doing. It be doing. It is like thoughtlessness, this modern meditation. The fellow meditate that says, let me be thoughtless. I should not think. I should not have emotions. I should not have thoughts. I should not have worries. I should not imagine. And that itself is thought. I should not think itself is thought. I should not have thought, that itself is thought. I should not worry, that itself is thought. I should not imagine, that itself is thought. You are holding something which is like holding a truck on a slope and keep it stationary. It is moving constantly. The gravitation is pulling, and your anti-gravitational force is equal to that, and therefore it looks stationary, but it is not. Involuntary actions keep going on. In fact, when a person is declared dead, that means voluntary and involuntary actions have stopped. That means as long as you are alive, you will act. That means you are committed to action, choicelessly. Moment you wake up, it starts. And before you sleep, it continues till last moment. Some thought goes on. And while sleeping also some act. They dream, all kinds of things. Even after Hanuman Chalisa, they have dream of a ghost and Dhakan and Pishachis. Anyway, forget it. So the point is, if you are made like this, why does Ishvara say this? Listen, again, these are all technical words I told you. In Gita also, wherever word karma is used, it means nitya naimittika karma, not any action. Actions prompted by, goaded by, pushed by your fancies and desires, they are not called as action. They are not called as karma. Karma means the enjoined karmas. Some of them to be done daily, some of them to be done occasionally. That occasion may be situation, maybe some time, maybe some place, anything, but certainly not regularly. Like today is a special Purnima, Sharad Purnima, they call it. And we have a custom that you have to eat beaten rice and milk. And the two that should be exposed to moonlight for evening hours, and then you eat. It has a different taste. We call it dudh pova. That is only today, not daily, not every full moon day. And that too in India. Maybe because in US you may try, provided there is a clear sky and provided there is a moon available. So these all naimittika. Karma means to be done regularly or at a specified time, at a specified place, or at a specified situation. These are all karma. In other words, vihita karma, told to be done, ought to be done, behooves of me to do it. It's proper for me to do it. Those karmas. Now, to commit to my fancies and instincts and desires is natural. This is the use of human freedom. That I just don't go by my fancies, I go by my decision. What I do and what I don't do is backed by, is guided by my will, my decision. And that will or decision is guided by my cognition. And that cognition or wisdom is gained by with an exposure to Shastra. I have a decision to do what is to be done. And I decide not to do what is not to be done. That is a spontaneous person. A deliberate person is the one who has a constant Mahabharata here. He or she knows what I should be doing and what I feel like doing. They are opposite. One is Pandavas, another is Kauravas, often. What I feel like doing is Kauravas. What I should be doing is Pandava. There is a war. That is Arjuna. That is where your free will comes into play. I don't surrender myself to my fancies. I don't surrender to my wishes and of the mind. I surrender to my understanding. That is a surrender, not just going to mandir, Prabhu Saranagate, Saranagate. That's not surrender. To surrendering to truth, to surrender to ahimsa, to surrender to my kartavya karma is surrender. That is a freedom. And even though I know what is to be done, but to go by my fancies is impulsive person. All of us are born impulsive. As a baby, we were impulsive. Parents keep hammering us. That is upbringing. That is samskara. They keep teaching us. Even though you feel like doing, you can't do this here like that. This is not a proper time. You are at somebody's house. You can't ask for the toys. Simple thing they teach us. You can't eat here. Even if they offer, don't take it. This kind of upbringing helps you to develop inner strength that I don't fall prey to my fancies. Impulsive has to live a deliberate life, and deliberate person later on becomes spontaneous. Impulsive is Duryodhana, deliberate is Arjuna, and spontaneous is Yudhishthira. He can't but speak truth. Arjuna is the one who has to work to speak truth. Fight it out. And Duryodhana, he can't but speak untruth. Even though he knows what is truth. Janami dharmam nachame pravrutti. He knows what is right, what is proper, what is dharma. But I can't surrender myself to dharma. This time, in this press conference at Constitutional Club in Delhi, I told this Puniti sir that he played a role of a Duryodhana in Mahabharata. And he has acted in more than 150 plus movies, 100 plus. As a villain and very few as a hero. And he was the one who gave a punch to Amitabh Bachchan. That happened to me. The fellow is so strong. It just happened. He gave a punch and Amitabh's stomach was too weak to take the punch. That's all he says. So he was discussing, and then Before, after the release, you have to say something, and then all Mahatma said, and then he has to say. I said, you start with this punchline. This is Duryodhana standing for dharma. This is that Duryodhana, not that Duryodhana. Because they all know him as a Duryodhana, Mahabharata. Nobody knows he is Punit Izar. So even when I converse with people, Punit will come here. Which Punit? Duryodhana? Ah, Swamiji, aisa bolo na. Poor fellow. He played that role so well that his original name people have forgotten. They call him Duryodhana only. So I said, you should tell. This Duryodhana now stands for dharma. You know, even that is it. That was in Mahabharata was who was against dharma, impulse. Anyway, coming back to this, karma means committing to enjoined karma. In other words, committing to duties, committing to kartavya karma. That person goes to blinding darkness. Why? Committing to karma means he sees karma as his existence. My self-identity, this modern youth, my self-identity, my identity, my image is my position only. I'm working for a person. And they are so committed to their office, so committed to their work, so committed to the job, they think it is an end in itself. When they justify, Swamiji, they themselves certify. Swamiji, I am a great karma yogi. Who said you become karma yogi? You have to live holistic. You play different roles. You have a family, you have a nation, you have a society to relate. You just can't relate to your office all the time. And that they go to blinding darkness. Why? This kind of commitment to actions, this kind of commitment to duty. Traditionally, they were performing various yajnas and etc. Modern life is doing office and pursuing the business. In between, there was a period they committed to karmas, means some yajnas and some upasanas and some gayatri or some seva. There are people I know, they just commit to some social service, some NGOs. They have earned money and then they give up and they commit to some activity. Good cause. I appreciate that. But that cannot be the end by itself. Because this attitude or this particular value reflects too much of extrovertedness, too much of rajoguna. And the nature of rajas is more you satisfy, more it grows. More you become rajasic, it pumps more rajas into you. More extrovertedness, more restlessness, more stress and anxiety and all kinds of things, because thinking of action only. And that may lead to stress because of uncertainty, because of apprehension about the result that I want, or because of apprehension of unfavorable result that may come to me, unpleasant result that may come to me, and that may add up to anxiety. The fellow cannot sit quiet. And that is what I see in a modern life. This modern society is a doing society. Sometimes you are thrown in your own lap, especially when you travel, But the fellow is so restless. The mind is so filthy. He or she cannot face himself or herself in a plain mirror. he or she has to have some activity. I was really shocked. 5, 7 years ago in Japan, it was my fourth or fifth visit to Japan, and this time I decided that I will travel by public transport. I told them I want to see the normal life. Everywhere I went by the tube trains and suburban trains and all that. In the train, during office hours or non-office hours, when no non-office hours, there were very few people. And office were all packed. People standing shoulder to shoulder. All of them were operating mobile, standing all the and the train is moving and they are hitting each other, but then they are all busy with mobile. Just can't stand. Just can't be with yourself. A few seconds, few minutes. We have created a society who cannot sit quiet. Swami Dayanji very nicely observed. You see, Sangitam, the music, is something to be heard. Gitam, that which is sung, it is to be heard. But you see this modern musician, music is to be done. Swamiji would say. Especially Western music, the fellow will hold the mic and walk across the stage and hold the mic like this and do all acrobats. So you don't know whether the fellow is singing or acting out the music. And in modern, even in India, all these music contexts, these TV programs, they stand and do and all do some movement, body movement. They've started. And the people also don't hear. They stand and hear with all gestures. So restless. You can't face yourself. You can't be with yourself. You can't enjoy your own company. Something has to be done. Has to be done is extroverted. Has to be done is restlessness. And that is andhantama, darkness, blinding darkness. You are Ananda. So you are the best company to be with yourself. But I just can't stand myself. I have to do something. More commitment to action means more extrovertedness. More extroverted means incapacity to be with myself, incapacity to think, incapacity to be objective, incapacity to just sit quiet. No way. That person can never ever grow or study something. And I have seen those guys, they are so active. When there is nothing to do, they feel insecure. Thanks to Corona, COVID-19, I came across half a dozen people, even more. Those who were already 70 around. The family told, children told that you should retire, you should enjoy the grandchildren, retire the family life, etc. But never listened. They had an apprehension. What will I do when I retire? And I've seen some of the government officers, senior secretaries, when suddenly they retire, they have all kinds of psychological problems. They feel so insecure and all other problems. Because of Corona, they got a confidence. Yes, I should retire now. So Corona has blessed young generation. Pela Bapuji, Nagani Fedani jam galle beta. So at least children will have free hand to the business in absence of the father. They learn to give up. That restlessness, that insecurity, what will I do without action? Is therefore it is andhantam. One day, body will become incapable to act. And before it becomes, you become capable not to act. And you pursue moksha. This kind of pursuit will be only for artha and kama. They will be either wanting some money or some pleasure. Listen, when you have money, you can buy pleasure. Why I'm telling separately? that achievement gives a kick, that position gives a kick, that status of being exclusive in the group, exceptional in the group is a kick. Is like giving glucose straight to ego, intravenous, straight energy. That is a calm. That writing on a visiting card my position is a very, very subtle, and this is my statement, very, very intoxicating to ahankar, the extent of addictive. And a hype has been created in the modern life. Therefore, quite a few think that there is no identity without a proper position. Especially women, I see. I can't give up the job. What will be my identity? And when some of the girls whom I know, they gave up their career and became a homemaker. I don't say housewife. They are housemaker, homemaker. They bring up the children, and their friends tell them, "Hey, what is your identity? Why did you give up? You had such a promising career, and you had such a this, blah blah blah." Because andhan tamah provision. Those joys of bringing up a baby, joy of a family life, they just can't see because of restlessness. The joy is in achieving something at a corporate level or some other level. And that is why they say they enter into blinding darkness. They neglect emotional aspect of the personality, which you can never ever bypass. They neglect the cognitive aspect of the personality, which you can never ever bypass. Just go on physical activity. Therefore, they say, and what is this andhantama? You shall see tomorrow. Meaning of these words. Darkness. What is darkness and what is blinding? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om